Hi folks, welcome back to End of the World Gaming. I am Jeremy. Today we're still talking about that 200-point Confrontation Battle Report project because it is the gift that keeps on giving. Today we're talking about the Griffins. The Griffin army is going to be using the Lodge of Hod Crusade. So the Crusade basically means that all the models are being used have the Lodge of Hod tag. So that does restrict my choices. But it also does give me benefits that I can use later, and I'll talk about those more. There's 3 rules that every model in this army actually has, and those rules are Pariah, Fanaticism, and Bravery. Pariah, we talked a little bit about with the Wolf and Repentant. Models with Pariah can only benefit from leadership from other models with Pariah. Since none of the models in this list have leadership, nobody benefits from Pariah. Wait, no. Nobody benefits from leadership because nobody in the list has leadership. Shocker. All right, so Bravery. We've mentioned Bravery before. Bravery means that... I'm looking at notes. Courage rolls that roll a 1 are not automatic failures. Another thing that I failed to mention previously is when you put all of your dice into attack... if you have Bravery, the model gets +1 to attack rolls, and that's really useful. The third ability that everybody has is Fanaticism. Fanaticism allows you to reroll courage tests that you failed when assaulted by a fear-causing model. The difference is that unlike where you had taken a courage test a courage test previously, the second time, you test your discipline against their fear because you're just like, yeah, we're not going to give up because we've been well-trained. Woo! The other thing, when you assign all of your dice to attack, you get +1 to damage rolls in hand-to-hand until the end of the turn, which you stack that up with Bravery. It's kind of like you get a mini War Fury, so you put both of your dice into attack, so you get +1 attack, +1 strength. Not bad. All right, let's get into it. First off, leading our merry band of gunsword-wielding monster hunters is Sophidius de Basarac, Esquire. Let me get him up on screen there so you can see him. Sophidius, storyline-wise, he is both a Griffin model and a Lions of Alahan model. Lions of Alahan are kind of the knightly guys, whereas Griffins are more probably like... I'd say 17th century French, more so than your classic chivalry models. But who cares about fluff, right? We're here for gameplay. Sophidius is loaded down with average human stats. He's speed 10, default human speed. He's initiative 4, high end of human initiative, attack 6, strength 7. They're not amazing numbers, but given that he can self-buff to 7 attack and 8 strength, I think that's pretty solid. Defense 5, resilience 6. If you're putting defense in 5, he's got a respectable... Or if you're putting dice in defense 5, he's got a respectable stat. His resilience is not amazing. But he does have a great ability called Survival Instinct, and it's a great ability if you can roll 6s. I personally roll a lot of 1s, so Survival Instinct never comes up for me. It's like, here, let me roll this dice. Oh, look, I didn't do what I needed to do, which is if you roll a 6 on a model that's got Survival Instinct, whenever they take damage, on a 6, they don't take any damage. So you've got a 1 in 6 chance of just skating, just being totally fine. All right, so he's got Aim 3, which is... It's a solid stat. Aim 3, that means at short range, you're only missing on 1s. You've got a 50-50 chance of hitting at long range, or at medium range. And I mean, who's hitting at long range anyway, right? Nobody. All right. Next up, we've got the Seneschal of Hod. Stat-wise, he's almost exactly the same as Sophidius. Let me go ahead and put him up on screen here. He's got not 1 but 2 gun swords, and he's got, he's got the wild hair and the flappy short coat. Stat-wise, he's almost exactly the same as Sophidius. His attack and strength are 1 lower. That's it. His ranged weapon has a different band. It's 10, 15, 20. Strength 6. He's already got ability. He's already got Fanaticism, Bravery, and Pariah. We've talked about those. Lastly, we have Sequence. So Sequence is a neat ability. It lets the Seneschal take a 2-point penalty to attack and defense, and if he does that, he gets an additional die. So he can have more dice in defense if he's fighting somebody who's got War Fury but doesn't have a great attack stat. You might want to take the penalty to defense. Just be like, let me tank through all of these with a slightly lower defense, or you might just want to try and slip in an extra attack. Who knows? It's solid if you're fighting a weak opponent and you've got them beat on initiative. It's a great way to kind of see how things shake out. So you can say, I think I'm gonna be able to get by him. Let me go ahead and put my let me go ahead and use Sequence. And then finally, we've got pardon. Finally, as a Seneschal, because both he and Phidias de Bassarak are Seneschals, they've got an ability called the Seneschals of Hod, where once per each round, you can use your one of his weapons is called a combined weapon, and it's basically a gun sword. But during hand-to-hand, you nominate one of your dice to be an attack with this weapon. If the attack goes through, you roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, you don't make you don't make a damage roll. On a 3 or a 4, you make a normal damage roll. On a 5 or 6, you make your normal damage roll, and on top of that, you make an additional strength 6 damage roll where he just kind of shoots you with his gun sword. I'm not super crazy about abilities that require rolling something specific on d6s to go off, because I'm terrible at rolling d6s. But if you have faith in your dice, if it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! And you've got the heart of the cards, go for it. Lastly, for 3 points, I did give the Seneschal Vanguard. So he gains access to Vanguard because this is an all Lodge of Hod army. So for 3 points, he gets Vanguard, which gives the Seneschal Scout. Scout lets the model deploy anywhere on the board, as long as it's not within 10 centimeters of an enemy model. Obviously, you probably want to hold him till fairly late in the model deployment to get the most out of that. Also, when he deploys, he's considered hidden. So as long as there's not a model within 10 centimeters of it, the scout can't be charged, can't be shot, none of that fun stuff. If a model moves to within 10 centimeters, models that activate after it can charge the hidden model, can see the hidden model, but not that first one. Also, if the Seneschal attacks, he loses hidden. So I think it's a really cool ability. All told, with the upgrade, the model comes in at 45 points. All right, so next we have 2 Temple Purifiers at 26 points each. These guys normally come in at, let me get this guy up on screen here. All right. These guys normally come in at 23 points, but I gave them the 3-point upgrade, each of them, again, for being Lodge of Hod, for close fire. So they get the ability called Instinctive Fire, which lets them ignore movement penalties when they're making aim tests. So if they walk up to take a shot at somebody, and there's the second guy on screen, they don't suffer a move penalty, or they don't suffer a penalty to their aim for that. But these guys, their stats are almost the same as the Temple Purifier, or the Seneschal of Hod, if you went ahead and reduced all of their stats by 1. Their initiative is 3, their strength, their attack is 4/5, their defense is 4/5, they've got an aim of 3, they've got a courage of 4, and they've got a discipline of 5. So they're solid. They're not going to run away. They're workhorses, but they're probably not going to stick around too long if you've got somebody beating on them in combat, because their defensive stats are bullet. But again, they've got gun swords. I mean, how do you go wrong with gun swords? All right. So those guys, like I said, 23 points with 3 points for the close fire upgrade. There it is. And then last but not least, we have got the Knight Templar of Hod. Pretty much same stats down the board as, let me get him up on screen there. Pretty much the same stats down the board as the Seneschal of Hod. Except he doesn't have an aim stat because he's got swords instead of sword guns. He does have +1 to strength and +1 to resilience and +1 to courage. Pariah, fanaticism, bravery, blah blah blah. War Fury. War Fury on this model makes it kind of a beast for 40 points because what he can do if he uses War Fury is instead of being a 5/7, he effectively goes to, if my math is correct, 7/9, because he gets +1 for putting all of his dice into attack, thanks to bravery and bravery and fanaticism. And then he also has an ability called Fire of the Temple, which, when he uses War Fury, gives him +1 to attack and strength until the end of the turn. So he punches pretty well above his weight, and he's going to have, a decent-ish initiative at 4. So, yeah, you're using War Fury, but, this cat's here for a good time, not a long time. That's it. That's 200 points, even. There's a ton of short-range shooting, a couple of tricks, and deceptively hard-hitting infantry model. It should be fun. Thanks for watching, guys.